Hello and welcome to GREENFLEET Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'm your host for our discussion today. I'm delighted to be joined by David Haynes, the UK Corporate and International LCV Business Development Manager at Athlon. David, nice to meet you.
Good morning, Kate. Nice to see you.
Good morning. It is the first time we've spoken, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's great that you're the LCV Business Development Manager, because coincidentally we're discussing commercial vehicle decarbonisation today. So I've got the right person, I feel.
I hope so. I hope so.
So David, let's talk broadly then about the government plans to stop the sale of new diesel vans by 2030, and then fast forward to 2035, and they're focusing 26-ton vehicles and 2040 for 26-ton and above. These are really ambitious targets. What challenge do you think this poses for commercial vehicle operators?
So I think the main driver for EV car uptake in the UK has historically been tax reduction purposes, specifically employee BIK. It's not to say that other elements have been involved in the decision-making factors such as CSR and carbon reduction. For EV vans, it's a little bit more difficult. It's not quite as clear-cut. The main driver for LCV electrification is legislation more than anything else. And this presents unique challenges to the adoption compared to those with EV cars. There is also additional challenges as well with electrification of van fleets when it comes to home chargers and electric cost reimbursement. Some drivers may find it a bit more difficult to have the charging infrastructure installed, and the use of depot charging can also put constraints on the network. We at Athlon have been working with other EV specialists such as Diode Energy to launch our EV readiness tool. This provides insight and support for our customers all the way through their journey. And I think other elements that have caused problems is buying or leasing an electric vehicle, electric LCV is significantly higher than that of purchasing or leasing a diesel or an ICE comparative. And that can make the outlay a lot more cost constraint and more complex for the customers, despite the potential decreasing in the running costs. Also, the reality for LCV at the moment is that there's not enough makes and models becoming available with the right ranges for BEV vehicles. And I think that's constraining our customers and people within the marketplace with vehicles that can't really achieve the right payloads and ranges yet. So I think the reality is for LCV operators in the UK is that not every vehicle is going to become an electric vehicle as it currently sits at the moment. I think one of the challenges we all have to realise is that we have to look at our operations as well and realise that there are going to be more challenges. There are going to be some vehicles that simply cannot move across to being a BEV vehicle as it stands. I think working with partners to help identify, firstly, the easily adaptable vehicles. I think I'd recommend to everyone out there to try and realise that it's not, don't get blinded by looking at the entire fleet in one scenario. Look at the ones that can be adapted quickly and easily, and try and work through and build a plan for transitioning those that can be as more makes and models become available with larger ranges, larger payloads.
And so let's just, I mean, you've laid out a whole raft of challenges, to be honest with you. I agree with you that this, for the van fleet operators at the moment, it is legislative. So unfortunately, not so much a carrot, but a little bit more of a stick, which is difficult. But you're right, even with that impending legislation, actually the range of vans, it isn't as great as it is in the passenger vehicle market.
No, we're still in a very much maturing market.
Yeah, it's probably 8 or 10 years behind where we were with the passenger cars.
Yeah, I say with LCVs, we're at version 2.0 at the moment with BEV vans. Yeah. And I think we need to keep progressing and going through the different stages to catch up with our passenger car colleagues. I think, yeah, I would hope it's more like 2 to 3 to 4 years behind with the speed of change. So I'd hope with another renewal cycle we can be closer to where we need to be.
There's definitely an opportunity to leapfrog the passenger vehicle market, I think. And you've touched on this also in terms of, don't worry about the whole fleet, let's just look at where these vehicles will work today. But what other steps can freight operators do now to prepare for this diesel-free future?
I would say I have a real focus on the infrastructure as well. I think we need to look at the infrastructure that's available within your workplace and understand what you need now and what you may need in the future when making decisions. So our EV readiness tool allows us to look at future demand and plan future charging demand on each location or each potential area where vans will be operating from. That gives us a great plan of future-proofing the electrification strategy. I think making decisions based upon the current scenario and the current requirements, i.e., well, we can change 20% of our fleet as it is. We need to make sure that the operators are aware of one eye on the future as well.
And are you finding that operators are embracing that infrastructure challenge, or is it a little bit too difficult for them?
I think with the right support, I think, you know, the people we're certainly, our customers certainly are embracing the situation and they understand. I think there's been a real step change over the last 2 years with the infrastructure that's being there. And I think it's important for fleet operators to stay close to not just only what's going on from manufacturers and what's being released in terms of new electric products to the market, but I think it's also important to stay close to the charging operators and the charging manufacturers, because the pace of change across all markets is very quick. And I think the developments we've seen from home chargers and smart technology over the past few years has been incredible, and I think it will continue to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, David. Ultimately, an electric vehicle is a vehicle and people understand vans, but the infrastructure side is completely new and it is evolving very quickly. So keep a close eye on it. Great advice.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about quite a hot topic, I would say, which is the last mile and urban operations, because it seems that there's a lot of focus on those and a lot of activity in that area. What solutions are out there for those operators?
Many organisations are already using BEV vehicles for the last mile operations. It's been a real area of development and has been an area where electric vehicles have been able to provide a great solution for fleet operators. Typically, at the moment, ICE vehicles are still being used to haul the long distances, doing the trunk runs, with emission neutral vehicles covering that last mile, which has been a great development for our industry. And I think it has led to electric vehicles starting to catch up with passenger cars in terms of the developments. I think there's also been focus on organisations' environmental credentials, which could also have an impact on their total cost of ownership. So that last mile area has definitely proven that looking at the total cost of ownership for an electric vehicle and transition has been a key element to the change. When we look at the last mile deliveries, particularly in urban areas where we have the ultra low emission zones, that extra cost for delivering using ICE vehicles has meant that the total cost of ownership has shifted in favour of electric vehicles. But I also think when we're looking at the last mile in a very specific way, it's important to have a growth mindset when it comes to these deliveries. Traditionally, it has been a van has been the solution. I think we have to realise that now necessarily a van isn't always going to be the right solution, or particularly the right solution for every job with last mile deliveries. I would start looking at e-bikes. I'd start looking at cargo solutions. I'd also look like, especially within the London area, we've seen delivery companies using boats to deliver deliver the parcels to e-bikes. And I think that's definitely something that organisations should be aware of. And I don't think it's going to be a van is the solution in every market and every situation. And I think we have to take the opportunity when looking at decarbonisation, not just to assume that a van is still the right solution. We work with our clients to find many solutions across Europe and in the UK that can be a good opportunity to switch away from that traditional mindset.
Yeah, and it makes for cleaner, nicer environments in our towns and cities, cleaner air, less noisy vehicles, and something that sometimes gets forgotten is that they are more pleasurable to drive if you're in stop-start traffic. So it's
absolutely. Who wouldn't like to cycle? Who wouldn't like to cycle along the Thames?
Well, yeah, I agree. Great. So, David, my last question really is about what support is out there for commercial fleet operators to help them with this transition to net carbon neutral, especially those that are operating heavy-duty vehicles.
So, as a leasing company and a mobility provider, we have a responsibility to work with fleet operators to make that right transition. We try to approach everything in the most ethically, environmentally sound way that we possibly can. Many organisations that we work with are experts in their own field. I wouldn't dare to tell a joiner how to saw a plank of wood. I wouldn't dare to advise in that area. Where we can really help is in supporting their vehicles. And this support needs to go beyond which specific vehicle to purchase. We've recently launched our EV Ready tool, as we talked about earlier, which looks at the full fleet development and deployment and factors such as typical journey times, routes and durations, where the vehicles are kept, what they're being utilised for, what they're carrying, what payloads do they need, what range are we looking at. And the output from that platform is a comprehensive report to help support our customers and fleet operators with this change. Fleet managers have a tough enough job already dealing with the day-to-day. Looking at the bigger picture, I think everyone needs a little bit of support when doing that. And it's right that as a fleet and mobility and a leasing provider, we are there to help support them. The platform itself is really a great way to provide not only data, but also engagement on a journey. Because I think we have to remember that there is a huge cost to change. When decarbonising, I think there are lots of different elements to consider. It's not just a diesel for electric, it's a complete journey.
Yeah.
And we support customers in that. And I think one of the big things that we try to do at Athlon is really support our customers through that journey, not just from a financial perspective, but from a driver perspective as well, because we know it's a big change for our drivers to be moving from something that has been so traditional and something they've done for could be a long time, as going to a fuel pump and standing there for 5 minutes while filling up, to actually planning and charging electric vehicles. And I think supporting from the ground up is a way for us to do that. And we do that through our CV surgeries, working with all elements of the driver population, because we have to remember that drivers generally are not just drivers. Vans are there to earn money for their businesses. And it normally happens, that money generally starts to be earned when the vehicle stops. So let the drivers get on with their job, and we support them in that process to making sure that we're bringing them on the journey with them.
David, that's fabulous advice, and a really great reminder that that the van is maybe used at the start and the end of their day, and in the middle that they've got their actual day job to do. So we need this transition to be as straightforward and ease them through this as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. David, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much. That is about all we've got time for. I would like to say thank you, of course, to Athlon for joining GREENFLEET Talks.
Our pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Please tune in to GF365 again soon.